Hello, M24 students. I wanted to theme for the Shine quizzes. So I'm going to come down here to the week 2 module where the first Shine quiz that you have is assigned and then will be due during week 2. And the buttons I put on the home page should take you right to the top of that week's module. My Canvas always jumps a little when it comes here, so just pause and wait for it to finish doing its little jump. So when you come to the Shine quiz, you'll click on the assignment, and then there's kind of a lot of instructions for the first one. After a while, you'll probably know these instructions by heart, and so you won't need to read every word of them anymore. So Canvas is a little bit slow right now. There's so many people using it getting started on their semesters. So general Shine quiz instructions, I've put a document here that this instruction is for all of the Shine quizzes, and it's just a little bit about the format I want. I'm trying to give you as much information as I can up front so that you won't get frustrated with the feedback process. You'll already know what it is that you're trying to. So it's taking a while for things to load, sorry. So here's the Shine quiz general instructions. You are free to collaborate with your Math 24 classmates. You can contact them using the People button in Canvas, and so you're welcome to just pick random people and say, how are you doing on number 3 on the Shine quiz? I'm really stuck. And that's a great way to learn math and for everybody to get better at the math, because the person sharing their solution might find an error, or it helps them clarify in order to explain it to someone else. So collaboration doesn't, though, mean copying any work or letting somebody else copy your work. And identical papers kind of jump out at me, so that is just something let's not do. The acceptable resources for the Shine quiz are Newton, any of the instructional materials in Newton, my lecture videos, the course pack notes, and your personal notes that you may have taken from Newton and the lecture videos, and then Desmos, which I will talk about a little bit more. Those are the only acceptable resources. I don't want you going to random websites and saying, tell me the answer to this problem. Not a really good learning strategy. And it actually takes longer than just learning the material and getting the problems done. So you can't get assistance from anybody else besides a classmate. So please don't go to the tutor center. Please don't use tutor.com or phone apps. You can ask the tutors in the math center for help with the concepts. And you can ask them to create a similar problem to work on with you to help you understand the strategy, but they know not to help with actual quiz problems. So use your own paper to work the problems in pencil. There is not enough space on the document I've provided. If you do want to work on my document, please download it into Word and add lots of extra space in between the problems. And that's if you don't want to write out the problems, that's one way that you can work around that. So if you want to work on a digital copy, fine. Just make sure there's a lot of space between the problems. And make sure your work is really clear and easy for me to follow. Put problem numbers. Put your pages in order, please. And write neatly. And I will do my best to write neatly. But I'll let you know that it's kind of tricky with the Apple Pencil on the iPad. So I do my best. But if anything's unclear, please ask me about it. And I know that my writing is not the best, and that some people have a hard time reading cursive writing. So please ask if any of my comments are not clear. Okay, so I can't grade your paper unless it's scanned into a single document. I can't see it in the iPad Canvas app. So it has to be a single PDF. If you submit more than one, I can only see the last one. So that's important. And when you do scan, you might want to give it a useful name. My phone gives the scanned files very useless names where I have no idea what that file is. So you may want to save it with a better title in case I ask you to change the contrast or it didn't come through, so that you don't have to scan the whole thing again. So please do take a few minutes and look at the scan before you submit it and make sure it's really clear. If your lighting isn't good or if your phone shadow is over the work, it just makes it really hard for me to read. So here's some graphing instructions. If you want your graphs graded, please use graph paper. Label your axes. Your horizontal and vertical axes are usually X and Y, but sometimes they're Q or P or something else altogether. Use a ruler or any straight edge. It can be the edge of a piece of cardboard, that's fine. Just make your lines straight because it is important. And make sure your scale is clear of what does each box represent. Is each box 100 cases of hot sauce? Is each box $10? Make sure it's very clear to the reader of the graph. If the scale is 1 box equals 1 unit, the scale doesn't have to be indicated. That's the assumption unless you show a different scale. So show all your work and make sure everything's in order. And you may use calculators, and I do suggest that you get a scientific calculator. You can use a graphing calculator, but they're actually not that useful in this class. A scientific calculator is more useful because it will help you work with fractions, so you don't get stuck with doing fraction work. So I want to show you the tool that I mentioned earlier called Desmos, and it's available as a web tool at desmos.com, and you don't have to log in. You can just use it for free. So it's a graphing calculator, and it has a free app you can download onto your phone so that you have a free graphing calculator on your phone. So here's how it looks when it opens. Over on the right here, let me get my window a little bigger, there's a wrench tool in the upper right. When you click on the wrench tool, it opens for you, and you can choose how much of the graph you want to see. So you can pick the graphing window. Maybe your graph needs to go from X is 0 to X is 100. And maybe you need your Y scale to go from Y is 0 to Y is 10,000. So now see how I can get up to 10,000 on the Y scale, and I can get up to 100 on the X scale, and then I could draw my graph. And Desmos has lots of wonderful features. Let's look at one where I can type in Y equals 3X plus 7, plus 7. And I need to change my scale back because this is so small, you can't even see it on this graph. So I'm going to go back to a scale of -10 to 10 on both axes, and now I can see the line. So if you can't see what you're trying to graph, you can scroll or pinch or enlarge if you have a touch device. And then the cool thing that Desmos will do is that now if I draw Y equals -2X plus 8, it will show me where these two graphs intersect. So it will show you where your graph touches the y-axis, and you can see the y-intercept. It will show you the coordinates of where you touch the x-axis or the x-intercept. So that's for the blue line. Then for the red line, here is the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And then if you touch or click on the intersection of the two lines, it will show you the intersection point. And then when we get to inequalities, I will show you that Newton can also graph inequalities. And down in the lower right here, there's a little keyboard icon. And if you click that, it has inequalities. So if I put a less than, it makes the dashed line, and it shows which side you shade. And then if I put greater than or equal to on this line, it makes, and you can see where the overlap is. So this will help you when you're solving systems of linear inequalities. You can't print out the Desmos graph. You can use it as a tool and to help you make sure you're doing it correctly, but I find value in hand graphing, and so I am going to ask you to do that. And it's only this first 3 sections that have a lot of the graphing of lines. And then we get into calculus where we really aren't going to be graphing lines anymore. So that is a lot of what the first part of Newton is practicing all these skills of graphing lines and inequalities. So I want to make sure that you're really prepared to do the Shine quiz. I'm getting questions from your Newton homeworks to put on the quizzes, so there shouldn't be anything surprising if you're keeping up with the homework. So let me know if you have any questions at all. I'm always happy to answer questions.